Can you imagine crossing a lake and then rolling straight into a muddy trail without ever switching vehicles? Now, picture doing that aboard a machine so small it looks like a toy, yet tough enough to tackle terrain that would make even a conventional Jeep tap out. You've heard of amphibious vehicles, but what about the smallest ones? The kind that don't even look real at first glance. So compact and clever, they seem like engineering stunts. These machines were created for military rescues in swamps, secret missions in flooded terrain, and even recreational use in places where roads just don't exist. They break every expectation, not just because of their size, but for their ability to conquer water, mud, snow, and dirt like it's nothing. In today's video, you're about to discover the smallest amphibious vehicles ever made, some with unbelievable stories, others with performance that will blow your mind. We're talking two-cylinder engines, beach cars that turn into boats, and even a mechanical water bug built to cross frozen lakes. Stick around until the end because the number one on this list is so weird and so ingenious, you'll think it came straight out of a sci-fi movie. Lazareth Amphib. Built in France by Lazareth Automotive, the Lazareth Amphib is a futuristic amphibious quad that looks like a cross between a rally ATV and a jet ski. Released in the late 2010s, it's one of the most exotic and compact machines on this entire list. Powering this amphibious beast is a single-cylinder 450cc engine delivering about 50 horsepower. That might sound modest, but given its ultra-light aluminum frame, the power-to-weight ratio gives it excellent performance on both land and water. Its automatic transmission makes transition smooth, no gear shifting required. As soon as it enters the water, repulsion system kicks in, allowing it to glide across lakes or coastal waters just like a jet ski. The suspension is fully independent, and while it runs on rear-wheel drive on land, its real magic lies in how it handles changing terrain. Visually, the Lazareth Amphib looks sleek and aggressive. Matte paint, wide tires, aerodynamic panels, clearly designed for speed and style. The engine sounds sharp and sporty, somewhere between a dirt bike and a snowmobile. Though created mainly for recreational use, this machine isn't just a toy. It's been used by security teams, film crews, and off-road professionals who need quick mobility in remote mixed-terrain areas. In fact, one model was custom-built for a French billionaire who uses it to travel between his private airstrip and dock on a secluded island. No roads necessary. Stylish, agile, and made for adventure. But if you thought this one looked futuristic, wait until you see the next entry, a retro Cold War machine that hides a lot more than you'd expect. Crocco Tag Amphibious. Developed in the Philippines during the 2010s, the Crocco Tag is a compact amphibious vehicle designed specifically for flood-prone urban areas, coastal zones, and even recreational water use. Its name isn't random. From the side, it really does resemble a small crocodile ready to lunge. This small but rugged machine is powered by a two-cylinder gasoline engine with 670cc, delivering around 40 horsepower. That might sound modest, but for its size and mission, it's just the right amount of muscle, especially when navigating narrow city streets or shallow sled waters. It features a CVT automatic transmission, which makes driving effortless, especially during transitions between land and water. Once it enters the water, a jet propulsion system takes over, allowing the Crocco Tag to cruise smoothly through lakes, rivers, and even calm coastal waters. The vehicle uses rear-wheel drive on land and has independent suspension on all four wheels, supported by heavy-duty shock absorbers. Its frame is built from a lightweight aluminum fiberglass composite, which keeps the weight under 900 pounds, aiding both stability and flotation. Visually, the Crocco Tag stands out. It has high-mounted headlights, a pointed nose, and curved fenders that resemble fins or flippers. The inside is tight but functional, with room for 2 passengers, a digital dashboard, and basic waterproof controls. The engine sounds high-pitched, more like a jet ski than a car. Originally developed for rescue operations in flood-stricken cities like Manila, the Crocco Tag is also popular with resorts and ecotourism operators in Southeast Asia. In fact, one unit became viral on social media in 2022 after it was seen rescuing residents during one of the worst floods of the decade. Sleek, practical, and built for modern challenges. But the next vehicle on this list feels like it came straight out of a 1950s sci-fi movie, and it's made for snow and water. The Amphicar Model 770, released in 1961 and manufactured in West Germany by the Quant Group. The Amphicar Model 770 is arguably the most famous civilian amphibious car ever made. It was one of the few that wasn't designed for war. It was built for fun. The 770 in its name stands for its top speed, 7 knots on water, 70 kilometers per hour on land. The Amphicar came with a 1.1-liter 4-cylinder Triumph engine producing around 43 horsepower. On land, it could reach up to 70 miles per hour, and in water, it cruised at about 7 miles per hour thanks to twin rear propellers activated with a separate control lever inside the car. It featured a 4-speed manual transmission for land travel and a second lever to switch into water navigation mode. The rear-wheel drive and independent suspension gave it decent road comfort for its time and basic stability in mild off-roading. From the outside, it looked like a typical 1960s European convertible. Soft lines, two-tone paint, a fold-down roof, and chrome trim. But once it hit the water, it became a sleek little boat. Its hull was fully sealed, and the experience of cruising across a lake in what looked like a classic car was unforgettable. In the United States, it became a symbol of novelty and freedom, sold through regular car dealerships and marketed as the car that swims. In fact, President Lyndon Johnson owned one and was known for playing pranks on guests by pretending the brakes had failed as he drove straight into a lake only to float away calmly. If you thought that was bold, the next entry goes even further back to World War II and might be the most charismatic machine on the list. GAZ-46, Soviet Amphibious. Built in the Soviet Union during the 1950s, the GAZ-46 was directly inspired by the American Ford GPA, but quickly developed its own rugged identity. Designed for the Red Army, it was used for river crossings, reconnaissance missions, and off-road patrols across some of the most remote regions of Eastern Europe and Central Asia. It was powered by a 2.1-liter inline 4-cylinder engine delivering around 55 horsepower. That might not sound like much, but for a vehicle that barely topped 90 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour on land, and around 10 kilometers per hour, 6 miles on water, it was more than enough for its mission. The 3-speed manual transmission included a low-range transfer case, which helped in swampy, steep, or unstable terrain. It had 4x4 drive with a manually engaged front axle, giving it surprising off-road and water crossing capabilities. Suspension consisted of semi-elliptical leaf springs and solid axles, tough and dependable, exactly what Soviet engineers prioritized. From the outside, it looked like a simple military jeep, but upon closer inspection, you'd spot the boat-like hull, the rear-mounted propeller, and the raised air intake for deep water operation. Its sound was a deep metallic hum, and despite its simple design, it offered steady and safe navigation across rivers, marshes, and even ice-covered lakes. It saw wide use in Siberia, Kazakhstan, and other regions where infrastructure was limited. Many units were used for decades, and even today, restored models can be found in Russian military museums and private collections. One particularly fascinating story. In the early 2000s, a nearly intact GAZ-46 was found buried under layers of snow in a forgotten garage outside of Kutuzk. It was restored by a group of Cold War vehicle enthusiasts and now operates in reenactments and vintage military events. If this Cold War relic impressed you with its rugged durability, wait until you meet the next vehicle. It looks nothing like a car at all, but it's one of the lightest and strangest amphibians ever designed. The Gamma Goat M561. Our journey starts in 1962, right in the heart of the Cold War. The U.S. Army needed something light, fast, and capable of handling rough terrain. And that's where the Gamma Goat M561 came in. Built by Chancevot, it was one of the most unique military vehicles of its time. It ran on a 3-cylinder Detroit diesel engine with 2.6 liters of displacement and about 103 horsepower. Not much by today's standards, but enough to move its segmented chassis and haul up to half a ton of cargo. It also had a solid torque rating of around 192 pound-feet, making it surprisingly capable in steep or slippery conditions. Its 3-cylinder engine was paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and a 2-range transfer case, giving it the torque it needed to crawl through mud or power through river crossings. The 6x6 full-time drive with independent suspension on every wheel gave the Gamma Goat exceptional off-road ability. But what really set it apart was its articulated frame. It bent in the middle like a mechanical snake, giving it insane flexibility and traction on uneven terrain. Visually, the Gamma Go was unmistakable. Boxy lines, low-slung chassis, big off-road tires, and a rear cargo section that looked almost detached. Its loud, dry diesel rumble became iconic in the field. It was used to carry supplies, wounded soldiers, and even light artillery in jungles and swamps where regular vehicles got stuck. Sure, it wasn't perfect, loud, awkward in cities, and difficult to turn, but it became a symbol of Cold War military innovation. Today, it's a museum piece, adored by collectors of vintage military vehicles. In fact, one unit was lovingly restored by a group of retired Vietnam veterans who now drive it in parades to honor its rough and ready legacy. And that was just the first one on the list. The next machine might look light and nimble, but don't be fooled, it hides some surprising power. The Luaz 967. Also born in the Soviet Union, the Luaz 967 is one of those machines that make you stop and ask, does that thing even move? Built in the 1960s, this strange little vehicle was designed as a medical evacuation platform for the battlefield, especially in swamps, forests, and terrain where conventional vehicles simply couldn't go. Its biggest advantage, it was so compact it could fit inside a military helicopter. It ran on a 4-cylinder engine, just 887 cc, producing about 37 horsepower. That's less than a modern riding mower, but it was engineered to be incredibly lightweight and mechanically simple. The air-cooled engine was easy to repair in the field, even under combat conditions. The 4-speed manual transmission had a very short first gear, which gave it the torque needed to crawl out of sticky terrain. It featured selectable 4x4 and a manual front axle lock, something that was quite advanced for its time. The independent suspension used coil springs with oscillating arms, offering just enough comfort and balance to stay mobile in uneven landscapes. The Luaz 967 had no doors, no cabin, and barely any creature comforts. It looked like a stretched-out go-kart with room for a stretcher or light cargo in the back. The controls were basic, the seat was narrow, and the engine sounded like a clunky garden tool, but it worked. On land, it moved slowly but reliably. In water, the lightweight chassis helped it float naturally, and its special treaded tires provided just enough propulsion to keep it moving. No extra propeller or paddle system needed. It was used extensively across Eastern Europe, particularly in Ukraine, Belarus, and parts of Russia, wherever swampy conditions and narrow trails made other vehicles useless. And believe it or not, one of these was famously converted by a farmer using parts from an old motorcycle, turning it into a makeshift all-terrain vehicle to cross a bog every morning just to get to the local market. Enjoying this wild ride through the world of amphibious machines? Then make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. We drop crazy new content like this every week. If you thought this one was strange, the next machine looks like a mechanical crocodile designed for flooded cities and tropical coastlines. Pangor Penguin. It's hard to believe this one's real, but it is. The Penghu Penguin, built in the 1950s in the United States by the Penguin, may be the smallest amphibious vehicle ever put into limited production. Its name says it all: small, round, and water-ready, like a penguin on wheels. It used a 2-cylinder engine with just 346 cc, producing a mere 12 horsepower. That's right, 12. But the entire vehicle weighed barely 550 pounds, so it didn't need much to move. On land, it could hit 15 to 20 miles per hour, and in water, about 4 to 6 miles per hour, thanks to a tiny rear water drive system. The transmission was fully automatic, and the drive system was rear-wheel only, both on land and in water. There was no real suspension to speak of, just a light, stiff chassis made from marine-grade aluminum with simple coil springs. Its appearance was wild, shaped like a mix between a submarine pod and a 1950s bumper car. It had just one seat, a tiny steering wheel, and minimal controls. Driving it felt like operating a toy, and that was kind of the point. The Penguin was used in marinas, resorts, and even by a few eccentric property owners who wanted to cruise from dock to dock without needing a full-sized boat. Very few units were made, and fewer still survive today. One restored Penguin sold at a classic vehicle auction for over $50,000, more than most modern sedans. And yes, it still floats. From cold wee battlegrounds to flooded city streets, from snowy mountaintops to quiet lakeside resorts, these machines prove that size doesn't define capability. Whether they were built for war, survival, science, or just pure fun, these amphibious vehicles tackle the elements in ways most full-sized cars could only dream of. They're not just vehicles. They're engineering oddities, military solutions, and historical treasures that challenge the limits of what was possible on land and in water. ATMP Mark III. Designed in the United Kingdom during the 1980s, the ATMP Mark III all-terrain mobility platform looks like a mutant golf cart built for war. Manufactured by NP Aerospace, this compact vehicle was developed as a lightweight transport platform for troops, ammunition, and gear over some of the world's toughest terrains. Under the hood, it had a 2.4-liter four-cylinder diesel engine producing around 110 horsepower. What made it special wasn't speed, but torque. Optimized for moving across soft sand, deep mud, and shallow water without breaking a sweat. It featured an automatic transmission tuned for low-end power and smooth transitions between terrains. With 6x6 drive, independent suspension, and large low-pressure tires, the ATMP was incredibly lightweight and even floated by design. Its reinforced aluminum chassis reduced weight significantly, allowing it to be airlifted by helicopters or airdropped into the field, ready to roll within minutes. At first glance, it looks simple. No roof, no body panels, open seating, and basic controls. But behind that minimalistic design lies a workhorse, reliable, easy to operate, and versatile. Its engine hums with a low growl, and its throttle response is surprisingly sharp for such a lightweight vehicle. It saw real action too, including in the Gulf War and various NATO special operations. The modular design meant it could be configured for weapons transport, medical evacuations, or even communication systems in the field. Amazingly, some units are still in use today, especially in hard-to-reach areas like coastal wetlands and remote fjords. One model was even used by a BBC documentary crew to capture rare footage of rhinos in Central Africa's flooded plains. It might look like a toy, but don't underestimate it. And if that seems a little unconventional, wait until you see the next vehicle, which looks like it just drove off a sci-fi movie set. Volkswagen Schwimmwagen. The Volkswagen Schwimmwagen, built during World War II by Nazi Germany, holds the title of the most produced amphibious vehicle of the war, with around 15,000 units made. It was based on the iconic Volkswagen Beetle, which explains its rugged simplicity and reliability. It was powered by a 1.1-liter four-cylinder air-cooled engine mounted in the rear, producing about 25 horsepower. It wasn't fast, but at under 2,000 pounds, it didn't need to be. The Schwimmwagen could hit 50 miles per hour on land and about 6 miles in the water using a retractable rear propeller. It featured a 4-speed manual transmission and a 5th lever that engaged the water propeller. The vehicle had 4-wheel drive with a locking differential and used torsion bar suspension for better off-road performance, a system it inherited from the Beetle. Its design was charmingly odd. A stubby Beetle-like body with a foldable windshield, simple military seats, and a sealed hull that allowed it to float. Driving it felt more like navigating a toy than piloting military equipment. But it worked. The Schwimmwagen was used for scouting, river patrols, and rapid transport across wetlands, especially on the Eastern Front. It was adored by German soldiers for its reliability and ease of repair under harsh conditions. Today, the Schwimmwagen is a collector's dream, with original units fetching high prices. Some enthusiasts even take them out for annual amphibious vehicle rallies. One Canadian collector famously crossed a full-sized lake in one just to prove that the engineering still holds up nearly 80 years later. But if you thought that was unusual, wait until you meet the weirdest, smallest, and most obscure amphibious vehicle ever made. Christy K3. Manufactured in the United States during the 1950s by the Christy Snowcat Company. The Christy KT3 was a small amphibious tracked vehicle, originally designed for snow operations, but thanks to its light build and naturally buoyant design, it could also cross shallow lakes and rivers, making it one of the most versatile little machines of its time. Under the hood, it had a 1.2-liter four-cylinder Volkswagen engine that produced about 36 horsepower. Not much by today's standards, but more than enough to power its compact frame and move through snow, mud, and even water with relative ease. The engine was paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and a lockable rear differential for added traction. Its rear drive-track system gave it the grip and stability needed for snow-covered terrain, while the torsion bar suspension and simple road wheels kept it smooth on bumpy ground. In water, the vehicle relied on rear-mounted propellers or the motion of the tracks themselves to slowly push forward. Visually, the KT3 looked like a miniature tank, low-slung, boxy, with an enclosed front windshield and white paint for snow camouflage. Inside, it had just 2 seats and a simple dashboard with lever controls, more like a boat than a car. It was quiet, stable, and surprisingly maneuverable for such an odd-looking machine. The KT3 was used in mountainous regions of the U.S., particularly by search and rescue teams, park rangers, and even meteorological stations operating in remote snowy areas. It also served in several Arctic research expeditions during the Cold War era. One particularly iconic KT3 was found abandoned at a ski resort in Colorado, buried under years of snow and ice. It was restored by a collector who still uses it to cross frozen lakes each winter, proving that sometimes old tech still holds up. And speaking of old-school engineering, the next machine was a commercial amphibious car that turned heads wherever it went. Now, it's your turn. Tell us in the comments, which of these tiny amphibious machines would you love to drive first? And if you could own just one, which one would you park in your garage? If you enjoyed this ride through the weird and wonderful world of amphibious vehicles, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That's how YouTube knows to share our videos with more fans of rare machines and off-road innovation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.